Professor Hoda Mustafa, are you ready to display your presentation?
Yes, I think that's solved.
Okay, the floor is yours, Prof.
All right, I think you can now see my presentation.
Yes, we can see it. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, so well, thank you very much for inviting me today to speak. I'm Hoda Mustafa, and I'm the director of the Center for Learning and Teaching. I'm a professor of practice, and I am an alumni of the Cairo University Faculty of Medicine. And I recently changed my career over the last 10 years to move into the field of education, educational development, online learning, and design thinking. But I'm here to talk about something that I think will build on what everyone has been talking about today, and hopefully something new and interesting that you'll find useful in your practice as educational leaders in higher education about resilience, digital education, and the future of the new campus experience. And how we can use our experience over the last 18 months to make some big bets in an age of uncertainty, but also an age of possibilities. So as we unite as African universities, I think we're uniquely placed to not only be part of the Middle East and the MENA region, but also to be part of Africa and to build on the leverage of a boom in not only digital transformation, but in opportunities, not only 2030, but also Africa 2060. In the future of learning experiences for our students as they become more exposed to different ways of learning, become more aware of all the opportunities that are out there in the job market, and how they want to become more competitive. The future of learning spaces and how we can reimagine the physicality of the campus and not only think of it as a brick and mortar physical space, but also to think of it as a hybrid blended physical and virtual space, because we now know that we have the capacity, we have the imagination, we can build the skills to leverage both spaces. And future learners, we also know that our learners are agile, our learners are resilient, our learners are curious, and we have a huge potential in our youth in Africa and in Egypt to learn in different ways, and not only within our universities, but also beyond, whether it's within the curricula we offer, but also in the learning outside the classroom. I'm lucky and privileged to be the director of our Center for Learning and Teaching at the American University in Cairo. We are the largest center for learning and teaching in the region. And we were able and we were prepared at AUC, because we have a Center for Learning and Teaching that prepared faculty, collaborated with multiple offices, whether it's digital transformation, whether it's the learning management system team, whether it is IT, to bring together faculty very quickly within a very short period of time to react to the crisis. Not all universities do have centers for learning and teaching. Ours is modeled after many US universities and European universities. We have an educational development and assessment team. We have the digital education team. We have video services. We have lecture capture. We support learning management. We train faculty. We have over 20 student work study in our program for student workers. So we have a very diverse, excuse me, a very diverse set of services, and all our services are on our website. But we were able to respond luckily because we had a Center for Learning and Teaching. And I'm saying we were lucky because the university saw this since 2003 in establishing a very small center, which grew in 2011 and then grew again in 2018. Our digital education unit was established in 2018 with a vision for digital education and for online learning, but online learning was something we wanted to explore since 2011. We also prepared an open educational resource for our faculty to help them design their courses in a way that would best suit emergency remote teaching and online instruction. So this is a self-paced course. It's an open educational resource. It's available for anyone to access. It's on our website. You're free to use it and to share it with others. Excuse me just a moment. And we invite you also to provide feedback. It's basically a way for faculty to teach themselves how to design and teach online. And it's full of all the resources that you may need to react very quickly in a crisis. It was very useful for our faculty, and many other universities also shared this resource with their faculty as well. So I encourage you, if you'd like, to take a look at it. You might find it useful to add to your libraries as well. And then I'd like to move on to something that is more future looking, because I think we had some excellent presentations from multiple universities about how they reacted to COVID. So I thought I'd use my time to look into the future. And this is a very impactful report that is, I think many of you may be familiar with it, which is the yearly Horizon report from EDUCAUSE on teaching and learning. And this report, every year I read it very carefully, because it usually gives me a hint of which directions we should go in higher education and what to focus our efforts on as educators and as leaders in higher education, which ways to direct resources, which ways to direct professional development, what kinds of workshops my center should be focusing on, what kinds of programs I should be suggesting to leadership. For example, what kinds of technological trends, what kinds of environmental trends, for example, aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals, what kinds of economic changes are happening, the future of work, for example. And then what are the trends that will have impact on the future of teaching and learning that are on the horizon? And quite rightly, it's called the Horizon Report. So for 2021, and in 2020, they were different. In 2019, they were different. In 2018, they were different. And every year you check them, and some of them stay the same. So for example, blended and hybrid course models have been on the horizon for many years now. Learning analytics, looking at learner data, looking at learner performance, looking at things like completion rates, looking at assessment data, looking at student feedback around how they learn on the learning management system to improve course design. Quality online learning is something that in the future students will be looking for. Good quality open educational resources is something that the African universities can hugely benefit from. This community of sharing, how together we could create all sorts of high quality open educational resources in a environment that is often scarce on access to closed resources that are often very expensive, databases that we can't always afford to purchase for our institutions. So the more open educational resources we have, and this is a trend, it's a global trend. And of course, artificial intelligence. So the Horizon Report has kind of pinned those as being, you know, as institutions, as educators, let's keep our eye on those. And then the scenarios, where is the transformation? Where are the areas in which we can grow and transform? It's also very useful to take a look at, and this is again Western centric, but I'm going to focus on hybrid learning, online learning, because digitization of a campus or a strong, solid infrastructure will enable the kinds of experiences that our students will be looking for in the future. The kinds of immersive experiences. Ain Shams University was talking about their virtual labs. We have a new immersive VR lab in our mechanical engineering department. Students will be looking for these kinds of experiences that they can take forward and learn in a different way. The technology is there, it's getting less expensive. Mobile learning and mobile enabled learning, their ability to author and produce their own content, how we can transform education using powerful technologies, hybrid classrooms, how we can create classrooms that allow for students to attend physically, but also to attend virtually. We have a series of dual delivery classrooms at AUC, which are taught in a hybrid or a high flex manner, in which some of the students are attending physically and some of the students are attending online. That allows us to react to crisis. That allows us to have some students in class, some students out of class, some students online. Our professors are trained to teach to both audiences, and many universities across the globe have used synchronous hybrid teaching as a way to react to the ongoing COVID crisis globally. Allowing or using technology to create more agency and choice, designing things like micro-credentials, that's also something that's a trend for the future. Allowing students to learn not only on campus, but to maybe take a few courses online, maybe to take a few blended learning courses, that they would take a 5-year degree in which some of their courses were online, some of their courses were blended, and some of their courses were face-to-face, so that when they graduate, they have a more expanded experience. In the United States, I think the statistic is about 30-something% of students, by the time they graduate, will have taken at least one online undergraduate course. I think we are far behind in Africa, that our students are not as exposed to online learning for the future. And then this is another very interesting infographic, also by EDUCAUSE, in how we can transform campuses around top IT issues, for those of you who are in the IT area, in redesigning higher education that we deserve. So I've highlighted just 3 broad areas in how can we look at IT in a different way, how we can create new opportunities in online learning on a residential campus, how we can evolve for example, networks on campus. I heard Ain Shams University investing a lot in their internal networks, digital skills and digital literacies for faculty and students. Equity is a big issue as well, making sure that all students have equal access to learning across the campus, regardless of gender, regardless of their learning abilities, regardless of disability. All of these things are very, very important. And then, of course, powering up the cloud and access to internet. Students should be, and again, with COVID, we realized how important that was, and a lot of universities were giving students access to internet at home, giving them internet sticks, giving them access to internet when they didn't have internet at home, and this is very important. But a campus that is connected, not only on site, but also students that are connected at home is vital. And finally, I want to move away from technology in the last 3 or 4 minutes I have, is to also think about engagement for real life experience for this new campus. So we talked about resilience and digital education, but I want you to also think about our new campuses. So we've been through COVID, we've had remote emergency remote teaching, but now we have a situation where we could have both. We could have this space where it's not a new normal, but maybe a parallel normal, maybe an adjacent normal, maybe a lateral normal, whatever we want to call it, but it will have the benefits, the advantages, the pros to take the best of both worlds. And when we look at the World Economic Forum top 10 skills and compare 2015 to 2020, a lot of the top skills that employers are looking for, things like complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, coordinating with others, people management, not all these things are top best in an online learning environment, or they're very difficult to enable. I'm not saying they cannot be, but you need both. So students who are learning online can develop these skills, of course, in online learning, but they also need other things as well. So things like problem-based learning, the pedagogy behind how you design your curricula, relating problems, using real life problems in our curricula, connecting what we teach to the real world. Coming from a medical background, my whole educational career was the real world. And that's why the examples from Ain Shams were so relevant, because they're authentic, they're real world challenges. They're designed for problem-based learning, they're problem-based, they're team-based. They result in a cycle of learning that leads to some kind of resolution of a real-world problem. And this is what, when we talk to our students, this is what they want because they know it mirrors real life. They know they can get the theory on the internet, but they can't get the real world experience, and they can't learn how to deal with these complex challenges except through an experience that they get at university where they do these kinds of things. Problem-based learning is very powerful. I know that their Suez Canal University uses problem-based learning extensively at their medical school. We use problem-based learning in our STEM courses and our engineering courses, and we're also introducing design thinking at AUC. Challenge-based learning and challenge-based innovation, we're introducing design thinking, and partnering with industry where we can bring a team, bring an industry partner, and start to partner with real challenges that are outside the university, bring them in, have the students solve them, and create this resilient new age campus that has students who learn on a campus that is connected, and also have exposure to learning in different ways online, whether it's a blended or online course in an augmented residential campus. And then also learn with new age pedagogies that allow them to mirror real world experiences and prepare them for the jobs of the future. Thank you very much. And I think I'm on time and I have time for some questions if anyone has any for me.
Thank you, Professor Hoda. It's impressive how AUC handle different challenges smartly. Thanks for sharing your unique and inspiring experience with us.